Um, Welcome to the 2021 HLPOA Board of Directors Meet the Candidates. I want to thank those responsible for helping me put this together today, my wife Deb and Rick Miller. I also want to thank the POA office staff for posting the reminder of today's meeting and the information on how to participate. We should all thank the candidates, Scott Coyle, Grant Feldhake, Shannon Lieb, Summer Ramsey, AJ Stafford, Nina Stebbins, and Dick Werner for their willingness to run for POA board position. Unfortunately, I have to announce that Kathy Jackson has had to pull out of the election due to family health issues. We are sorry and we wish she and her family all the best. Rick Miller, who develops and monitors our HLCS website, creates the annual phone directory, and puts out our monthly heritage highlights, will be handling our Zoom presentation today. He will be responsible for making sure the microphones are open when a candidate is speaking and muted at all other times. In addition, none of the audience microphones will be open. We agreed that when a candidate is finished speaking, I am to announce the next candidate to speak, give him a moment to turn on the microphone, and then we'll proceed. We had asked for a few questions from the property owners. Today's audience may also submit messages via the Zoom platform. We will use the owner's questions on every fifth question asked, so hopefully each candidate will be required to answer at least one question from the property owners. We will start with the first question previously received and proceed accordingly. We will start with a 1-minute opening statement from each of the candidates, followed by a 1.5 hour question and answer session, concluding with another 1-minute candidate closing statement. Our original 26 questions were sent to the candidates last month to give them the opportunity to research any issues they may not be familiar with. Any recent properties owners' questions will be new. We will begin by drawing a candidate's name from our hat, and then we will proceed in alphabetical and the questions numerical order from there. I will announce the candidate's name, read the question, and he or she will have up to 2 minutes to respond. If any other candidate would like to respond to the same question, please raise your hand, be recognized, and you will have 2 minutes. Once finished, we will continue with the standard procedure and your name will stay in the rotation. We will allow only one additional response so as to prevent repetitive answers. So let's begin by drawing a name. Oh, okay.
That's my company.
I'll hold it.
This is who gets to go first, right?
Right.
Scott Coyle.
Well, we're going to go in alphabetical order then. Scott, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay. You all got the questions, so I'm reading just from the order that I put them out to you recently. The first question. There are varied opinions of the board members, their decisions, and how they interact with the community. What will you, as a board member, do to build community relations and positive perceptions of the Heritage Lake Board of Directors?
So I think this topic is kind of tough because we see what happens on Facebook and we see how the interaction of the community goes. So I think the underlying main item that has to happen is communication has to stay open. So there's going to be communication with people that no matter what I say, they're going to disagree. No matter what I say, they're going to agree. You're going to have both sides. So I think it's just real important that any decisions we have, that a little more explanation goes out on the front side of it instead of on the back side. So being proactive rather than reactive. I think that was the big fight that we had this last year with the marina and with some of the other decisions. And a lot of it too is just people, hey, if they went to the board meetings and they were involved, they probably would have gotten the information up front. But I think we can do a better job on our social networking saying, hey, this is what we have upcoming in the pipeline. These are the ideas we're throwing out there. Hey, give us your feedback. Obviously, we're going to take their feedback. We're going to go one way or we're going to go the other. And there's a lot of other things that go into it. But I think with that being said, as long as we're a little more proactive, we keep the communication lines open and we explain why we made our decisions, that's all you can really do. So.
Okay, great. Anybody else want to touch that one? Okay, then the next one goes to Grant Feldhay.
Hey,
Number
lost my
2.
internet temporarily. I'm back.
Okay. You okay, Grant? You there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome.
Your question number 2. There are always many issues that affect our lake community. If you were to prioritize the top 3 issues you would like to address in your first year as a board member, knowing you've been there for a while, what would they be and how would you go about it?
Well, right now I would look at the address around the lake. For safety reasons, you know, the roads out there, they should be easy for emergency services to make it to each and every home. I really think the addresses are a little bit kind of, I guess, outdated is the best word to say. And I'm going to look into governing powers and figure out how to accomplish to make it easier for, you know, new people, either fire trucks or Amazon or friends even, to get out there. It should just be easily able to find each home. Another thing is, you know, helping the community members become more of a community. I would try to start some program where a mentor would help new community members become better versed in the community. Like, have them have like a mentor to go to. So like, yeah, they can go to the office and get technical answers there, but which is the best grocery store to go? You know, if you look it up on Google Maps, they may end up at the Fillmore grocery store. Nobody really wants to go there. So, you know, something to help them and would help bring the community together. And I guess the last thing would be probably just safety on the water in general. Just trying to help with the I guess help get the officers and people who are patrolling better equipped to help stop I guess the speeders and the lawbreakers, I guess, of the water. Help them get properly equipped for that.
Okay. Anyone else want to tackle that one? Okay, then we'll go to Shannon. Shannon gets question number 3. The community has grown exponentially in the last few years. Planning is essential. What is your vision of Heritage Lake 5 years from now? How will you help make that vision a reality?
Yeah, this is kind of related to the previous question as to what projects you would be interested in. And one was already mentioned, signage, because I believe that signage is too small for one thing, and there's not enough general signage indicating that go this way if you want to go to JV, or go that way if you want to go to Lincoln Hills, and maybe even have some kind of crude map. I don't have a complete idea here, so it's just an indication of what I think would be helpful and how that would be done. Would take some work through planning. Also, water concerns. It would take work with Clear Creek. You know, what is the water table like here? There's a website that has tons and tons of information about what the average depths of wells are. In fact, you can find well depths at very specific locations. So once we get an idea of what how the water is being drawn down by the increasing population, we should also prepare, just as a proactive measure, to talk with Clear Creek as to what would it take to get some sort of in-house water supply. So they're doing a good job on the sewage, although they're going to expand that. So that's about it. You're still muted, Jim.
Okay, here we go. Dick, you have a hand raised on your screen. Does that mean anything? Okay, he's muted. Dick, you're muted.
I raised my hand to ask about opening statements.
Oh, we forgot him, didn't we?
Perhaps.
Well, we can do that at the end. We'll call it a closing statement.
Okay.
Okay, anyone want to take that one besides Shannon? Okay, the next question is number 4, and that's going to go to Summer. The community is always looking for volunteers to support our committees. What will you, as a board member, do to promote volunteerism for our committees and our community as a whole?
So I'm the type of person that feels that people who are appreciated are the ones who go above and beyond. And I think if we have people that are volunteering to help within our community, we need to show that appreciation to them. I'm the type of person that will go to Titus in Lebanon and buy dozens of donuts and take them to schools because I love teachers and I appreciate them and I want to thank them. So I just think that we need to celebrate and thank those that volunteer within the community. And I would be one that would take the time to personally do that if given the chance. So you're still muted. Sorry.
Okay, anyone else? I think I must stay unmuted so I don't do that. Okay, the next question goes to AJ, and AJ, you're number 5, so you get a question from the audience. And these were some email questions I got. They're fairly simple. The first one is from a Jan Tarter. Her address is listed as 137 Patriots Landing. And all she says, will you promise not to go over budget?
That's a pretty good softball there. I feel like we all try really hard to not go over budget, not spend things that don't matter. I mean, Ken really, being the property manager, he really does a great job of keeping the budget tight. And I think the most important thing we can do is that we just need to be aware of what we're spending and how we're spending it. And Jim Johnson spent a lot of time the past, I don't know how many years he was on the board, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 years, saying that we need to be financially responsible. I would love to promise that we would never spend more money than we make. I feel like that's a pretty good goal because we, for the most part, unless there's a large capital expenditure, something like a building that, that was in disrepair that needed replaced, then, but we don't really seem to have a lot of big outlays of things coming up. We're recouping our money quickly. For all of you guys that have been attending the board meetings. So yes, I mean, I plan to be financially responsible. I'd like to potentially run for treasurer so I can help keep an eye on things and kind of follow in that footsteps of, and I forgot the word that Jim always uses, but it's, oh shoot, what's that word? Grant, can you remember that word? The one he uses all the time in every board meeting? It's eluding me now. I can't remember which one it is, but just, being conscious of the numbers and being conscious of what we're spending and knowing what Ken and his staff are spending and what they need, and then what the needs of the community are. we were able at the end of the year to buy some playground equipment to make the playgrounds better and safer and nicer. We're going to continue to make the marina area a nicer place, the park's a nicer place, the pollinator gardens, the campground. We just want to provide as many amenities as possible. So yes, I do feel like I can keep us in budget.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, Nina, you're up next. I need to see, there she goes. Okay. Yours is number 5. There has been an arrangement for lake dredging these past few years. What is your thought on the current setup? And is there anything you would like to see added or done differently?
Well, this living in a shallow cove, this kind of affects me and Summer personally, but I don't have a ton of knowledge about it, but I do feel like that the dredging that they have done has been beneficial. And as long as our schedule is working with Clear Creek Conservancy and the local authorities that recommend that and test the water, and as long as we're balancing, the health of our lake as well as the benefit to the property owners and the users of our lake, I feel like we're doing a good job as long as we're balancing those two things and making sure we're looking at the science and following what the science is recommending us to do.
Okay, anybody else? All right, Dick, you're the last one for this group. Yours is question number 6. A community of our size is diverse and opinions on how it should be directed are many. What are your general thoughts on the well-being of our lake community? And what do you think we can collectively do to improve upon it?
Thank you. Well, I have observed current and past boards deliberate over requests and issues and have been pleasantly surprised that all objections or requests have been considered with an eye on the good for all. Not everyone will be happy all the time with board decisions, but so long as the community as a whole is the main consideration, I think we all win. Instilling and growing member involvement in the community actions and activities is and will remain a key element in improving our current situation. And that's what I would promote as a member.
Okay, anybody else? I'll stop asking that if no one wants to do this. Okay, so the next one is back to you, Scott. It's question number 7. The maintenance of the common areas, beaches, marina, pool are handled by lake management. Do you see a need to make any changes to the structure? And if so, what specific areas would you like to see addressed?
Sure. I think Ken does a great job, especially with his budget constrictions and making sure that overall the areas are really well maintained. Sean, who runs the maintenance area, he does awesome about getting his guys out there. I think there's some areas that need tweaking, but I don't think there's anything substantial. I know like the pool, we seem to have maintenance issues with pool all the time. It doesn't seem like they can handle any issues on their own. But other than that, overall, I think we're doing good things. I think sometimes we're a little spread thin, and for me, I'd rather see major improvements in fewer areas rather than trying to do a little bit everywhere. And so, hey, if we got 5 parks, let's reduce it down to 4 and have 4 better parks than try to spread everything across. I think everybody's kind of spread out on different areas, but I think we have a lot of stuff that's duplicated in different areas, and we could do some stuff to improve that. It is a tough job though, because any little thing, they get phone calls nonstop all day long. Hey, there's a dead fish on the beach, like drop everything you're doing, rush over there. It's little stuff like that that kind of gets a lot of the main projects derailed, or, that's just the main things that we're going to get. And it's hard to balance all the members in the community. That squeaky wheel is the one that calls over and over, and that we end up putting a lot of resources towards. But I think overall our maintenance stuff is good, but I'd like to see the direction of it slightly change just to make sure that we're improving our product a little bit rather than spreading it thin everywhere.
Okay, great. We're next back to Grant again. Grant, this is question number 8. The various board-sponsored committees are often asked to make recommendations to the board on various topics. This would include recommendations for lake rules. What are your thoughts on this process? To what extent should the board be obligated to follow these recommendations after the committees have put their time and effort into developing their best proposals?
I think that, yes, the board should be, the board should, take in consideration to what the committees have brought forward. They should definitely look into it, as long, if it's all towards the bettering of the lake community, then yes. If the committee has put a great recommendation together, whether it's a rule or something else, the board should definitely go through and discuss it and vote on it, and should at least consider it. Because I mean, even if you got a great committee and put something together, it can't really be a blanket statement here, because if you got enough people in a committee, they could say fill in the lake, and if you blanket statement now say yes, we'll do whatever the committees bring forward, that would be one of them that I would say no to. So as long as it's a bettering the lake as a community, yes, I think we should at least look into it, discuss it, and probably move forward with it. But I can't blanket statement and say, yeah, we should accept them all.
The next question goes to Shannon. And Shannon, you're number 5 again. So this question comes from Daniel Ramsey. I didn't have a address, so I'm not sure who he is, but nonetheless, that's who it's from. All he wrote was thoughts on a safe walking, biking paths linking parks and marinas. So I think he's just asking you what you think of the idea.
You're talking about walking paths and
Linking the parks and the marina.
oh, there difficulty there. Of course, I'm talking about difficulties that I see there. So it's going to take a lot of, it's an engineering question to me. And then that's where I would look for advice, is call an engineer in and say, what's it going to take to make a link between these two? Because if you just go running out and say, oh, let's beat down some bushes and cut out some trees and make a path going from here to there, that isn't always an acceptable way of going about doing things. So, we are on public land here, and you have to be cognizant of the rules of DNR and all that sort of thing. So I would kind of defer that question. One worth looking into, of course, but I would say I'd first get an engineering report on the feasibility of doing such a thing, and the best way to go about doing that.
Okay. Next question goes to Summer. And Summer, you're number 5 again. So this time you're going to get, no, I just did a number 5. I'm sorry. Your question is number 9. The HL Board of Directors are duly elected by the property owners to represent their wishes for the betterment of our community. What personality traits, i.e. cooperation, compassion, would you bring to the board to achieve the goals of proper governance?
Oh, time to brag on myself. So I'm a person that is a hard worker, someone who follows through. I'm detail oriented. I have a lot of kids, so I have a lot of balls going at once, and I'm able to manage that and get everybody where they need to go and do what needs to be done, and homeschool triplets, and still help my 10th grader with his homework over DNA. And I've got a lot going on at once, and I thrive on it. I love it. it's never dull at the Ramsey House, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm a type of person that would put the best interests of the community above even what is best for myself, because I want, I love this community, and I just want what is going to be beneficial for everyone as a whole. And that's, thanks.
Thank you, Summer. The next question goes to AJ. And AJ, it's question number 10. With the growth of our community, it is important that our board of directors possess the knowledge and experience to direct our operation properly. You want to be elected to the board of directors. Name 3 reasons why you think you're qualified to represent the property owners of Heritage Lake.
Okay. 3 reasons. Well, so far I've been on the board, which was good. So I got a lot of experience in that. I feel like I touch a number of different community areas. I use the lakefront, I use the water. I don't live on the water, so I can kind of represent the people that don't live on the water, but I can also represent the people that use the lake, just because I am one of the people that use the lake. I'm younger, so I can work with those younger families, that are a little more relatable. But my parents also live out here and they're retired, so I kind of can reach both areas. And I run a business now, so I'm out here all the time at the lake. My focus target area is Heritage Lake for my landscaping company. And the community's been so good to me, and I try everything I can to give back to the community for that reason. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to keep running for the board after my first term, was to kind of keep the process going, keep the progress moving forward that we've already started, and kind of get some things over the finish line, kind of like what Scott said about hitting some of those big projects and getting them finished and getting the next one started. So definitely.
Okay, thank you. The next question goes to Nina. Nina, this is question number 11. Because we all love our lake home, we need and want an environment that encourages participation and promotes positive interaction. Negative comments on social media are counterintuitive to this. If elected to the board, what will you personally do to encourage this positive environment and help develop a better working relationship between the board, the committees, and the community at large?
Well, I think the first thing is to set the example that, I would set the example of putting out positive information, avoiding any negative statements coming from myself personally. But I think in addition to that, the community just wants transparency and clear communication. And sometimes those negative comments on Facebook particularly are born of frustration and the person not completely understanding all aspects of the situation they're commenting on. And so I think in that case, a really important thing is to reach out to people and talk to them personally, offline, whether it be knocking on the door, we're all neighbors, or if you see them out on the lake, let's chat about this. And I just think that contributing to a culture of transparency and open communication and speaking to people on different levels. Not everyone is on social media. Not everyone wants to text. Not everyone wants a phone call. Some people want a face-to-face. And as long as we keep that in mind, I think that we can continue to do a lot of the really good work here at the lake that we've done.
Okay, I'm back. This one goes to Dick. I'll wait till he gets his off. Turn on your mic. Dick, turn on your mic.
It
There
is,
we
okay.
go. Okay. This is question number 12. It is anticipated that when 9 members of the board discuss issues or plans, there will be disagreement. It is, however, important to remember to agree to disagree and not let those differences of opinion develop into something more. At the end of the day, when the board reaches a decision on an issue, the board needs to speak to the community as one voice. Do you think this is important and why? If you become a board member, will you remember this and adhere to this philosophy?
Yes, I do think it important that membership hears a unified voice from the board of directors, knowing firsthand that there is often some disagreement. In approaching an issue, I believe that all options should be discussed and considered before rendering a decision that affects us all. I've seen this approach used successfully in professional life and in POA matters as well. Likewise, I have seen divisiveness create unnecessary angst among customers, members, employees. So I understand that as a board member, if elected, there will be dissenting opinions, sometimes perhaps my own. This is not about me, it's about our community. And that's what I will endeavor to promote.
Okay, thanks. Next one is Scott. You're number 5 again, so this time you get a question from the field. This came from Sharon Peoples at 175 Mill Springs. She writes, what makes you different than the people already on the board?
So there's a couple things that differentiate myself from the people on the board. I think one, I'm a little bit younger than a lot of our present board members, so that's not a negative thing. It just gives me a different point of view. So the things that I'm looking for in the community might be a little bit different than somebody that's retired out here. So I have a young family, and I have some other friends out at the lake that are similar in age. So I'm 36, so I'm not 20 or anything, but so I think that my age puts me in a little bit different of what I'm looking for. But on the other end of it, I've had some real good business experience. So I own several of my own companies. I have a construction company. I own a bar and restaurant. I used to run a pretty large retail company. So I have a real good background of management, understanding how to work with people. I used to have to work with a lot of government. So I used to be the person on the other side going to the board, hey, can you change this? Can you change this? Give us approval. So I have a background that I know how to work with people. I know how to get things done. And that's the number one challenge in our community is getting the board to get things accomplished when you have so many different views all coming together. So I think that would probably be my best quality is taking all that input and then determining what's the best outcome for the community that overall is for the best good. It's not going to make everybody happy, but I think I can look in the long term and say, hey, this is the best choice for our community.
Okay, thank you. The next one goes to Grant. Grant, this is question number 13. Recently, the board proposed to the community some changes to our 50-year-old restrictive covenants. The voting window was 18 months long, and we failed again to reach the necessary quorum. Did you agree with the proposed changes? Please expand on your yes or no answer and be specific in your thoughts. Do you believe the board should present a covenants change proposal again in the future?
Yes, I believed in it. I believe in change. It has been a long time since those were written, back in the 70s, I believe. I can't remember when they were exactly written. But yes, I think we should move forward and try to make some changes because we're just moving into the future. We're not moving into the past. To get a quorum done, it will take a lot of hard work. And yes, I do think we need to do this vote again. I don't think it needs to be done in the next year or two because I don't think we'll get a quorum in the next year or two. But if more people come forward and think there might be a change in the voting, maybe we will do it before then. But yes, I think we should move forward and do another vote eventually.
Okay. Our next question goes to Shannon. Shannon, if you want to take off your mute. There we go. This is question number 14. There has always been some disagreement about the cost of the yearly maintenance assessment and board approved fees to maintain our community. Keeping in mind the annual maintenance assessment cannot be changed without a covenant adjustment, what are your personal views on the current fee structure? How might you change it while maintaining our ability to meet our financial obligations?
I'm not sure what it is that you want to change in terms of it's the consumer price index is what is based on what our annual assessment is, what the increase is every year. And so that's not something you can change. It's always been what you can do in terms of raising service fees, like what you charge to park boats at a dock or that sort of thing. So I'm not sure what I could do to well, you can always look and see how redistribution of costs could somehow make, maybe decreasing cost in certain areas or fees, basically, which might increase the amount of people using it. So thereby getting more revenue. And of course, there's always room. People are always interested in just raising fees, period. But I don't think that's always the wisest thing to do. So that's what I would look into. And of course, we have to be fiscally responsible. So you have to live within your means. So no matter what your income is, there's always a limit.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
The next question is for Summer. This is question number 15. Over the past couple of years, the board put together a plan to remove and build a new marina. They held town halls to discuss the project, asked owners to submit questions and suggestions via email, and talked about it at every board meeting. Do you think their transparency of the project was appropriate? And if not, what more could they have done? In addition, were you in favor of the allocation of funds to build it? Please be specific.
Sure. So I was absolutely in favor of a new marina because as a mom, like my biggest concern is always safety. And the old marina was falling apart and it was no longer safe. So there definitely needed to be something built to replace it. As the wife of a landscape architect and a project manager who deals with commercial building, I understand that building, even a building that may seem, about the same size as the house, is going to cost an extremely large amount of money because it's on a commercial scale. So the cost, while it may seem like the size of a house and it costs $1 million, those costs are legitimate, and it's going to be just something that it costs what it costs. So I was definitely for that, and I definitely appreciated what the board did to communicate that to the community. The town halls, the sending out emails with a link to the virtual walkthroughs. That's absolutely the transparency that is needed for a large scale project like that. I know they even took comments from the community and changed some things to make it fit what was best for our community. If there's one thing that I wish was a little bit more clear, was the intention of a possible public restaurant. I know it was mentioned, but it didn't come across as the big future impact that I think has happened. I don't know that everyone was completely clear on that. So that would be the one thing that I probably would recommend would have changed.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for AJ. This is number 16. The Lake Committee, along with the board, has proposed a new boat safety testing structure before owners can register their boats. The proposal indicates that any person that will be operating a powercraft on Heritage Lake must submit to and pass a boating safety test to obtain an operator's license. What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe the test is a good way to ensure safety on the water? Is there more that we can do?
Well, I definitely think the safety test is the step in the right direction. We have to kind of work our way towards that. That's a huge concern, is safety on the lake. I feel like we bring it up almost every board meeting, if not every, probably every other board meeting. We talk about boating safety, we talk about security, we talk about the interactions that people have with security, which can sometimes be fun. But really, I think that the safety test is the boating safety test, boater preparedness test. It's going to knock down the amount of the large infractions, I would say, like driving the wrong way around the lake, or following people that are pulling a tube or a skier, or driving after dark, hopefully. I don't think it's a silver bullet that's going to just magically fix every safety problem out on the lake, because people are still, but basically we got to start the safety, and then we got to work on enforcement. So I think the part is, this year we get the safety, we get the licenses put in place, we start doing enforcement, and then also hopefully people will feel empowered to start speaking up, on the lake when they see a safety concern. They can say, hey man, I took this test, you need to take this test, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. And I think that's just important. I think that that's the next logical step, and the biggest concern on the lake of safety is, okay, the lake committee and the board have come together. The lake committee put together all these potential questions, and we kind of worked through all this. So I really think that this is kind of the next logical step in that. And then we kind of stack the enforcement on that. And then hopefully, down the road, we're in better shape.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for Nina. You're number 5, so you get one from the audience. This question came from Steve Weber at 153 Gettysburg. It's rather long, but I'll read it to you and we'll decipher the question. Number 1, he says he's got 2 questions. There are clearly water safety issues currently at Heritage Lake. Violations of lake rules occur every week. We would like to put a buoy in front of our property to better define no wake areas and protect our swimming grandchildren. We are happy to purchase it and let the lake committee place it. Do you support this? Why or why not? Or do you have a better alternative that has the same positive result? That's question number 1. Go ahead and answer that one.
Okay. I agree that, with the explosion the last 5 years of the number of boats on the lake, and the number of families that are now here full-time versus just part-time, there have been a lot of safety issues, and the board, through the new lake rules and the testing and the fine structure, have endeavored to address that. And I appreciate, as far as putting a buoy in front of a specific property, I honestly don't know off the top of my head where that property is or how that would affect the typical traffic flow. And I think it's definitely something that the board of directors, when given an inquiry such as this, we have an obligation to respond to the community member, and then put it in the hands of I don't want to say the experts, but the experts, the security who are on the lake, they know the traffic pattern, they know where the people are speeding and where the swimmers are too close to the traffic pattern, and let them make a recommendation. And if they recommend that, yes, this is an appropriate place to put a buoy, then I fully support a buoy being placed. But I can't say, hey, yeah, well, I'll support putting a buoy in front of your property when off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure where this is at. And how that buoy would impact the rest. I appreciate the safety impact of their grandchildren, and I can relate completely. But how it would impact the rest of the lake, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. I had communicated with.
And
Go ahead.
I didn't address the inquiry for a better alternative. Again, a better alternative would have to be something that came from, the security and Ken and the property managers looking at that location and knowing the traffic patterns, and maybe there would be a better alternative, but I personally don't have the answer to that.
Okay, good. Thank you. The next question is for Dick. And it's number 17.
Gotcha.
Okay. In addition to the boat safety test, the Lake Committee is also working with the board to enact a fine structure for infractions to the lake boating rules. There would be 3 ascending tiers of fines and loss of lake privileges commensurate with the infraction. Even if you are not aware of this proposal yet, what are your general thoughts on a fine and loss of lake privileges program to ensure compliance to the safety rules of the lake?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we have always had some such consequences to rules violations. I've been a property owner here for 37 years, and I have always monitored the rules. I've only been a resident here for 5 years. And I can never remember seeing enforcement of rules violations or hearing about enforcement of rules violations. If I were elected as a board member, I would certainly, that would be one of my goals, is to promote enforcement of rules violations. This relates to, my parents owned a lake home up on Lake Freeman the year before I was born. So I've been around water all my life, and some of the actions that I see on the weekend days, especially out here, are just scare the dickens out of me. If we don't get a handle on it, we're going to have a tragedy to deal with, and none of us want that. So, yeah, I agree completely that we need to have the fine structures or suspension of privileges in order to get the problem under control.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for Scott. Scott, this is question number 19. The new marina will eventually open a restaurant that will be available to the public. It appears that most of the HL owners welcome the prospect of a good eatery in our backyard, and yet there seemed to be controversy regarding the opening. What are your thoughts on the new restaurant, the conditions in which it will open, and what can you do to facilitate its success?
All right. I think with this one, all the controversy isn't going to go anytime soon. People are still bitter that it got built. They're still bitter that the marina got built. They're bitter that we didn't say up front, hey, a restaurant's going in there. And I don't think it's going to really change anything. They're going to be bitter until they die. But for all the rest of us that are really excited about it, and I'm one of them, so I can't wait for the restaurant to open. I can see it from my house. I'm on a cove right next to the marina. I can't wait. I think it'll be a really nice addition for the community. I can't tell you how many times we've said, hey, I wish there was something right there. I grew up in the Geist area, and so I used to go to the restaurant on the lake growing up every week. So it was a real nice thing to have. So I definitely know the positives of it being in a situation where we had a restaurant on a lake. On it opening, I've heard a lot of rumors about what's going on with Psalms and the deal that they've gotten. I think we just need a little more transparency and to get stuff out there. I know some people are upset about the lease structure, what they're going to pay or not pay, when they're going to be open. So it'd be nice to get some things firm out there that we understand. I've heard too that, hey, if we don't give them a good enough lease, they won't come. So I think it's nice having a name brand place. Mr. Psalms is a great operator. He's done a lot of restaurants here. He has a good Catholic background. He's a nice moral guy. So I think there's a lot of things with him that put him in place to be a good member of our community. In terms of success, I think we just need to get the thing open. That's the challenge we have, is I just don't know how long it's going to drag out. I know with the COVID right now, running a restaurant right now is terrible. So the restrictions in place and just people not wanting to go out with the distancing, it makes it really hard to be profitable. But I'm hoping by the spring, I don't see any reason that we shouldn't be able to have this thing open and operating. From the board standpoint, we just need to make sure it's a cost structure that makes sense for him and incentivize him to offer it. Hours are going to be a real big challenge. Is how late it can stay open. Is there going to be a bar in there? Is there not going to be a bar in there? Is this going to turn into, hey, this is a cool place to hang out for your Saturday night on the lake or not? Those are a lot of questions we need to address. I know there was people, hey, I'm all worried, the liquor license liability, and that's what you have insurance for. I own a bar. I have people that do stupid stuff all the time. It is what it is. You do the things you can to properly divert from those type of actions, but you get a bunch of people together and drinking, you're going to have issues. No different than the issues we have out on the lake now. But I think the board just needs to put a structure in place that's good for a restaurant operator to get in there, and us as residents just need to make sure we all go to that restaurant and support it. Though that's going to make it good. If it goes down, we're going to see food quality fall. We're going to see hours reduce, and it's just not going to be what we want. So that's kind of my thoughts on the new restaurant and the going in there.
Okay. Scott, just to let you know, you're a little difficult to hear. And I just got a text from Rick Miller saying that your audio is a little messed up, and I think it is. I had to listen very carefully, but I think we could understand everything you were saying. So does anybody else, since this is a fairly big thing that we're doing, does anybody else have any comments about this that would like to say something?
I'd like to chime in.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I should have raised my hand. Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, we had discussed operation hours and things like that. I believe we published them. I'm sorry that I don't know them off the top of my head. I know we had talked about operational hours, so it's not till 3 in the morning and things like that for the restaurant portion. And I believe that we have some sort of a contract, but I believe the lawyers are still going over it. So we haven't even, and you guys that are on the board with me can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have even received the draft copy because I think they're still finishing up.
Correct.
Yeah, the last kind of dotting the T's and crossing the I's. So I don't think that we've even received those for review. So I think the lawyer is still doing whatever lawyers do.
Correct. Yeah.
Get all that dialed in. But I know we went over hours of operation. I think the only hours of operational things as far as like extending them would be on holidays or the day before a holiday, like a 4th of July or a
New Year's Eve.
Day, New Year's Eve, things like that. But I believe all of them were closed like at midnight or earlier, if I'm not mistaken, when we had talked about it. I think it was like midnight was the cutoff for almost all the days. And like during the week, I thought it was like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Something close to that, yeah.
And I know there's restrictions from the zoning committee that said we can only do so much as far as hours of operation. So, yeah, I mean, obviously it's a concern with alcohol being involved, but I can't even imagine a restaurant being able to survive without being able to sell alcohol. I mean, the Pizza Den sells alcohol, and so does the Anthony's. So,
Okay, anybody else? Just for your update, there's 8 minutes left in the second quarter and the Colts are leading 10-7.
Good.
Okay, the next question goes to Grant. And Grant, this is number 20. As a board member, you're required to be the liaison between the board and at least one of the sanctioned committees. This is an especially important added responsibility of a board member. Are you willing to actively support a committee by regularly attending meetings and participating in the activities of the committee? Which committee or committees would be your preference and why?
I am currently a member of the HLNAC and I am their liaison. They're a great group of people and they have several events throughout the year that need a lot of help. And I try to help with them as much as I can. Most of their events involve the families of Heritage Lake and trying to bring them together. And that's what I want to see more of the community about coming together. There may be other committees in the future. Maybe that one that I mentioned earlier about the new members coming into the lake. Maybe there's a committee for that, and I would like to head that up as well. Be the liaison for that. But HLNAC is one that I like because it helps bring us as a community together in different events for the whole family.
Any comments from anybody else? Okay, Dick, turn off your mute.
That's coming. Yeah, I would like to say that I understand that a liaison position is a duty of elected board members. And I also understand that if elected, I must step down from my chair position on the government committee, which I currently hold. But I would prefer to stay engaged in government relations relative to relationships I have fostered with local government entities. I have been hard on them when necessary, but respectfully so, and they appreciate that approach. Our commissioners and our council members both have appreciated my demeanor when I present them with an issue for our community. I would also say that relative to the government committee, the local government doesn't particularly think so well of the Heritage Lake community because we're not incorporated. We don't have our own ruling body. We're more of a problem for them than other cities in this county. I guess that's the way to put it. But I'm also interested in the A&E committee, the Lake and Siltation committees, but I will serve as asked should I be elected.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, the next question goes to Shannon. Shannon, can you take off your mute?
Yes.
Okay. This is the second question from Steve Weber that I got a little while ago. I read one before. Speaking of better safety, our lake finger between Gettysburg and the clubhouse gets a ton of excess traffic, especially on the weekend. This includes high-speed tubers, jet skis, water skiers, etc. The narrowing of our finger from the Hoops property, and that's Kent Hoops if you don't know him, does not provide a safe environment for all this traffic and causes excessive shore erosion. We would like our entire finger to become a no-wake zone to solve these two problems. There's plenty of room in the main lake for this traffic. Or at a minimum, we would like no wake from the Hoops property east with perhaps a 6 to 8 a.m. time frame for water skiers. Would you support this and why?
Yes, as you were reading that, I was thinking, this is obviously a question for the Lake Committee. An individual response isn't really all that appropriate when you're talking about specific homeowners having very specific problems. But I would say that one of the things that ran through my mind was that, maybe there's ways of parceling out times of the day in which that area would be used for different activities so as to keep the congestion of multiple activities going on at the same time. I know that long time ago, I've been here since January of '85, and a long time ago, there was a problem with fishermen and boaters. The boaters would go by and cause big wakes and cause the boats to go up and down and cause problems that way. So there was, at least at one point in time, and I'm not a lake person, so I can't tell you when this was or if it's still being enforced. But at the meeting, it was brought up that the people that wanted to fish, they would do it at certain hours of the day in certain regions, and then it could be opened up to other boating and that sort of thing at other times of the day. So my thing is parcel out not only the landscape, but parcel out the timescape that's used for those different functions.
Okay. I would just mention for everybody, I've been on the Lake Committee for about 20 years. This question has been brought up probably every other month for the 20 years I've been on there. So does anybody else have a comment about this? No? Okay. Next question goes to Summer then. Summer, this is question number 21. Over the past few years, we've seen some substantial improvements to the common properties in the lake, i.e. a fine swimming pool, an expanded marina parking area, the addition of boat slips for off-water boat owners, continued and enhanced dredging, and not to forget a beautiful new marina. Can you think of any other improvements to enhance our enjoyment of the lake or contribute financially to our community? Please be specific.
Okay. With the addition of the new restaurant, I think we need to look at the parking lot at the marina. Again, it goes back to safety and me being a mom. There have been times where I have gone to a play date at the beach and had to walk across the ramp, and with trucks and boats and everybody backing up, like it's scary sometimes, especially with, holding hands with three little girls. So my biggest concern with safety is that we look at the parking lot and make sure that all those people that are coming to the restaurant and coming to the marina and backing their boats down and boats that are getting gas, that it's just a safe environment for everyone. So that would be that's at the top of my list for sure. And in addition to that, having the marina, I think one of the ways to help support the new restaurant is to have a pier for boat parking. And I believe AJ, you've mentioned several times during the meetings that that's something that you've been looking at. And I think that we need to look at that and see how that can be established, but also keeping the beach safe for our children. So, it's going to take someone with some expertise to look at that and make sure that we don't have children anywhere near boats. I mean, it's just a big concern for me. So, and something that I would just personally, something that I would have liked a couple of years ago before we got a boat, when we were HLPOA members for a couple of years and just went to the beach, went to the playgrounds, and never was able to get on the water. So personally, as a family with young kids, I'd like to look into a kayak rental opportunity. I understand that it would take some, it's going to take liability insurance. It's going to take maintenance, and that would be something that Ken would have to be in charge, not necessarily in charge of, but definitely put input on that. But I'd love to be able to rent kayaks to members and maybe the guests. Not a ton. I don't want 100 kayaks out there, but just a small fleet of 6 or something. So people who don't have the opportunity to get on the water could enjoy that for an afternoon.
Thank you. Just for your information, ideas of rental equipment have been discussed in the Lake Committee. We're not at that point yet, but they have been discussed. Anybody else on that one? Okay, the next one goes to AJ. And AJ, this is number 22. A while back, the board authorized the filming of the ops and general meetings, and these meetings are available on YouTube. They also encourage owners to attend their meetings. This ensures that everyone who wants to can see our board in action. There are those who say this is not enough. Are you comfortable with this arrangement, and what more do you think the board can do to be transparent? Even though it is impractical, do you believe that some or most major decisions of the board requires approval by the property owners? If so, why, and how would you go about it?
Okay, that's a lot of questions all in one. So here we go.
That's why I sent them to you early.
Well, I believe that when Grant and I got on the board 3 years ago, Grant's the one that brought up the idea of videotaping the meetings and putting them out there because, as we have pointed out a lot, not everybody lives at Heritage Lake, but at full time where they could just, leave their house, drive 5 minutes and be here. Some people live Carmel, Indianapolis, Avon, Plainfield, whatever. So we kind of wanted to do that to add transparency. And then also, when you're videotaping a meeting, you got to really pay attention to what you're saying. You can't just throw something out there into the wind and hope that nobody really catches it to try to get yourself off the hook. You have to really know what you're talking about, explain it well, and be able to back up what you're saying. I feel like that's helped transparency. It may not to some people's points that have brought up along the way. I think that there's always going to be people that are going to be upset about it. There's always going to be people that don't think we do enough. So, we're trying to manage to the masses versus, that small contingent of people that can tend to be upset. What was the second half of that question? I don't have them in front of me.
Do you think that some or most major decisions of the board requires approval by the property owners?
I would love to let people vote on everything that we do that's a large purchase or a large expenditure. I just can't imagine having to slow down the progress of the community to try to take a vote every single time. And I know part of the reason we had done the covenants change was to get a vote structure that could actually be passed, that we could actually send out for more votes. If we get a smaller quorum of people that could say yes or no, then we could actually get a real yes or no answer. We can poll what people wanted and take, but we couldn't do a full official vote for every single thing we would do because it would take us a year to make every single decision. And that would just cripple the progress of the community, at least in my opinion. I do think that, we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort with the video meetings, and I know Chris had done all sorts of video recordings that she put out on YouTube to explain different things. We could maybe continue doing those things, doing videos or short little clips that we could put out on social media, but also not everybody sees social media. So I think having the meeting in person, having the meetings online, and maybe trying to post to social media is a good way to to move forward.
Okay, thanks.
Jim,
Yes.
I just wanted to say real quick, I looked it up because you gave it to us early. We get about 100 views on YouTube on average per video, and there's upwards to 500 views on some of the videos. Just so you're aware on the YouTube videos. So
The YouTube videos being the board meetings.
the board meetings and the ops meetings, yes.
Okay, well, that's
So-
pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Grant. Does anybody else have anything? Oh, Dick's waving his hand.
Yeah, I would just like to add, I concur with what AJ said. I would be in favor of a simple majority of votes cast if we were to go down that road. Because we all know from past experience that we can never get anything accomplished if we follow the rules in the covenants on these. Of course, we have to follow the rules of the covenants if it is a vote that is bound by those covenants. I understand that too. That's all.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for Nina. Nina, normally yours would be 23, but I'm going to skip that one because I'd like to say that to everybody at the end. So I'm going to go with number 24 for you. Okay. We have all seen how the public forum and the board meetings can get testy. Given that you would possibly be the target of such animosity, what are your thoughts on how best to handle the situation?
Well, I think the first thing is just to not contribute to any hostility or animosity. The second thing is to keep my head about me. But most important is, you know, in a situation like that, where there is typically any sort of animosity or anger, it's born from frustration and typically an intense passion, or someone that's talking about something or something they really feel deeply about. And so I think as a board member, it's my duty to sit back and listen to them, actively listen to them, make sure that they understand that I am listening to them. At the same time, you know, I have to understand that people communicate differently. You know, what may seem hostile and loud and aggressive to me may just be that person's typical tone of voice. And so sometimes putting your own response aside, making sure you're giving them the floor, listening to them. And, you know, if that's not possible and it's not possible to diffuse any animosity, I would always be willing to meet with someone after a meeting, you know, in a safe space. So it's not during the formal meeting, but let them talk out what they feel like they need to get out.
Okay, thank you. Now we're back to Dick again. Dick, this is question number 25.
Okay.
Following the election and annual meeting, the board will elect their 4 officers for 2021. If elected, is there a position you would be willing or want to take? Why and what attributes do you possess to be successful in that position?
Well, I do not have any specific position in mind. My desire and intent is to contribute to the good of this community. And I find myself in a life position to be able to do so. I have plenty of time to put to that. If elected and then nominated for one of the 4 offices, I will answer the call. But I would prefer to gain some board experience before accepting an officer position.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on that one? Okay. We're going back up to Scott. Scott, I'm going to read you one from the audience. Have you already had one from the audience?
I've had one, yes.
Okay, I'm going to just go on to the next question and I'll do the next one. I want everybody to have a chance to do those. Yours would be question number 26. Heritage Lake is governed by specific documents and understanding the intent and limits of each are helpful for a board member. How well do you know the difference between the restrictive covenants, the bylaws, and the articles of incorporation? And do you know where to find them?
So I do know where to find them. I have read all of them, but it's been a few years. So I read them when I bought property out here back in 2017. With it being a few years, I don't remember all the major I remember the major points, but I don't remember any of the minor details of them. I guess I understand how, one is the document that's filed when it was developed. One is the one that we operate by. So I have a general understanding of them. But I think as a board member, if I am elected, to be my responsibility to brush up on those items, get additional familiarity, make sure everything I'm doing is operating within the rules that I must operate under. So like I've read them, I have a general understanding, but I'm not seasoned on them by any means. And that's why we have an attorney that works for the POA and that you guys refer to all the time. Any of these issues that need a little more legal expertise.
I'm going to guess that none of us know the differences too much, to say the least. And I've read through them all myself, and they're not easy to understand. Any other comments on that one? Okay. Then we're basically going to, yeah, I've got one more. So the next one's going to go to Grant. Grant, you haven't had one yet from the audience, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay. This one is from a Dave Anderson at 215 Mill Springs. Which maintenance issues worry or concern you? What capital improvements would you wish to see? And finally, are there any policies or procedures you would like to enact or change?
As far as maintenance, I would say the beaches and the boat docks in general. Whether it's cleaning up the beaches, maybe making more beach area, or boat docks, just the boat docks where people rent out or just for parking in the future. The beaches and the boat docks are really where I'm looking at. What was the other parts of that question? Sorry. You're muted, by the way.
Are there any other policies or procedures you would like to enact or change?
Off the top of my head, other than something I may have said earlier, not that I can think of, but.
Okay. The next question is going to go to Shannon. We are going to start repeating some questions now, but I'm going to make sure we do it in an order that you have not been asked this question before. We tried to come up with enough questions that we wouldn't have a lot of repetition, but I think in our time period, we have enough time to go through a few more that are repetitious, but you won't be getting the same question you've had before. So Shannon, it's up to you. I need to take you off your mute. Take the mute off. There we go. We got him.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to start with number one again. There are varied opinions of the board members, their decisions, and how they interact with the community. What will you as a board member do to build community relations and positive perceptions of the Heritage Lake Board of Directors?
Well, a lot of things have been done more recently. And video conferencing, although right now the video conferencing is difficult to understand, hear people talk. So if we could somehow improve the the audio of the video conferencing, I think that would be a big help. But transparency, of course, is really kind of the key thing there. And dealing with committees directly through their liaison anyway, have the liaison be a proactive person for bringing ideas forward to the board, so that ideas that are raised up by the committee are given a thorough and, attention paid to the points that are being brought forward by the different committees. Let's see if I had something else written down here. Oh, doing a survey. Doing a survey every once in a while, maybe not yearly, but maybe every other year. And it would be a short survey. We used to do that in planning. And like votes, of course, you don't get a huge response, but at least the responses you get clearly indicate certain areas that people are interested in. You give a list, but then of course you give them a choice, or a chance to list their own choices. So that helps for communication to the community. Getting communication back from the community, of course, is the real problem, not us getting questions out to them. So I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Grant, just out of curiosity, is there a way that I hear what Shannon's saying about the audio from the POA meetings? Is there a way to put microphones on the table so we could hear them better?
As of now, we haven't fully looked into it. The iPad that sits in the center podium there is the microphone. I haven't fully looked into it because I'm currently working on computers for the office, but that was something I was going to look into, especially for like the annual meeting coming up. But
Okay,
yeah, we
thanks.
can look into it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Next question goes to Summer. Summer, this will be question number 2. There are many issues that affect our lake community. If you were to prioritize the top 3 issues you would like to address in your first year as a board member, what would they be and how would you go about it?
So first, I think I would look at a safe and successful restaurant opening. Again, looking at that parking lot and pedestrian traffic coming in and out of the marina, because again, as a mom, safety is first for me. I want to make sure that this is examined before there's any accidents, because there's just so much going on in that area. I want to make sure that that is somewhere that I can send my 16-year-old to go fill up with gas and not worry that he's going to get hit or something. Second, I think working on clear and straightforward communication from the board. We have the YouTube POA meetings, which I absolutely appreciate, but also utilizing social media, utilizing highlights, which Rick does a great job with. But we do the YouTube meetings and put those out there, and then we print the notes in the highlights, but none of that gets transferred to social media. And I think we're missing a big, large group of people who do use social media. So maybe getting that information out a little bit better. And third, this was brought up in a couple of meetings recently, working alongside Clear Creek as they plan to expand the treatment plant, because they're talking about doubling that in size. And that's going to be a huge project. So something that the board's going to have to work very closely with them to make sure they represent the interests of the community.
Okay, I would just say to you also, any support you can give Rick Miller on your ideas about social media Rick
Yeah.
does a great job with so many of these things. I'm sure he could always be happy to have any help you could give him.
Absolutely.
So, AJ, you're next. This is number 3. The community has grown exponentially in the last few years. Planning is essential. What's your vision of Heritage Lake 5 years from now? And how will you help make that vision a reality?
Well, we've talked about a lot of different things today. Obviously, keeping a solid budget, keeping all that going, continuing to dredge, have good lake rules, have good lake safety. I really think in the next 5 years, we'll probably be out of waterfront lots for building.
Good for you.
So I think that we're going to have I don't want to say I hope in 5 years we don't have any more lots to build on, but I feel like in the next 5 years, the way building is going, there's going to be very few lots available, which only is going to drive up property values as people want to buy property to get on the lake, and as people start taking houses and building them up and making them bigger and fancier. I always like to joke that sometimes we're the Geist of the West. People from Plainfield and Avon are moving out this way, building it up, making it fancier and nicer. But really, I feel like we're headed in a good direction. I don't feel like we need big wholesale changes. I feel like we're working in the right direction. We've got the sewer doing its thing. We've got the potential to get this restaurant at the marina, more boat parking, more boat safety. One of my big things I've been really pushing forward is playground equipment. As the father of a 4-year-old, she tries to influence me on what kind of playground equipment is the best. So I've been pushing hard on that because I know that's a big thing for new families that live out here, is places to play and things to do for people that have kids at home all day. Especially this year, seeming kids have been home a lot and parents are probably going crazy. And then just pushing forward on some of those technological things, more social, more videos. I think it'd be really fun, and I am not an Instagram aficionado, but I think it would be really fun if we had some sort of Heritage Lake sponsored Instagram where they could go around and take videos of people doing stuff and putting on there appropriate things of people doing things and posting it. And just kind of create more of that tight-knit community going forward.
Okay, thank you. Nina, this is going to be the last question we're going to do for now until we get all wrapped up. This is a question that came from Marianne Novak. She's at 25 Mill Springs. She says, first of all, thank you all for being willing to run for the HLPOA board. If you are elected, it will require a lot of your time and effort, so I want to thank you in advance. Her question: in recent years, volunteerism on committees and clubs has declined. If you're elected, what will you do to encourage more residents to become involved in HL clubs and committees?
Well, volunteer is kind of my niche. I run a couple nonprofits, and for these nonprofits, I do volunteer coordination. But so I've learned the first thing is to show up, to set the example, to show up, to be there. Also, you want to be the squeaky wheel, and you want to, when you go out and you're checking your mail and your neighbors waves hi, yeah, you can just wave back, or you can go over and say, hey, next week we're planting flowers at the marina. Do you have a free day? I think really just talking to people directly and letting them know what opportunities are there, what needs have arisen. And, everyone has a unique set of skills and something that they can contribute to these volunteer groups. And yeah, I think setting the example and just touching base with members of the community that may have a skill that these committees could use.
Okay, thank you. I saved one question for the end for all of you to have the same question. And it's a specific, just yes and no answer. So if you don't want to turn on your microphone, but you just want to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's all I'm asking for. Okay. The question is, there will be times when the board needs to discuss confidential issues pertaining to individual owners. This information may be detrimental to an owner if it became public. Will you commit to never discussing private matters outside the closed session, even though you may not agree with what was discussed? A simple yes or no will be sufficient.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I just wanted to get you all on record, okay? What I'd like to do now, I know I've got some board members on here, and there are a few people listening that I don't have their picture, but they're listening. Would anyone like to unmute and ask a question of the board members? I see Anita, I see Deb, I see Darcy, John Myers, John Deegan. Anybody have a question? They're all watching the football game. Oh, there's Anita. Anita?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I think you did a good job of covering lots of topics. I sent a question, but I think you already asked or answered it actually. I had wondered if each of the candidates had been sent the, sort of canned questions prior to today, and I think you said yes. The only follow-up is how long in advance did everybody have the questions?
I'm going to guess about 3 weeks, wouldn't you say? This is just my decision to do that. I just feel like, especially when you have some who have been on the board for quite a few years and those who are new to it, everyone should have the same time period to research some things that they may not be aware of. So that's why I send them out, and then they know that they're going to be in order, and that's the way we do it. So that's why I did it that way.
They were sent out December 17th.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I had. You did a great job.
Any questions from any of the board members?
Hey, Jim, this is Rick Miller. I have a question.
Okay.
And this is for all the candidates. Brief background, with the financing of the marina, the board voted to increase fees for a number of activities around the lake. And they committed, they committed to at least propose reducing those rates when the loan is paid off. But they cannot commit future boards to that. So my question for you is, will you support reducing the fees back to pre-marina financing rates when the loan is paid off?
Okay, AJ's got his hand up. Go ahead.
Try to do it right this time. Yes, you're correct that we don't have to, I guess you would say. But I do feel strongly that when we made that proposal to make those fee changes, that we promised that they would go back, and that we would empower the next board and the board after that, member wise, to say, hey guys, remember, this is what we promised. I know every board has the right to do whatever the board wants to do, but we've kind of made the promise. We need to, go forward with that to the next group and the next group and the next group, and make sure we remember that. I believe it's only in 2023. So we're not that far away, or 2022, 2023.
I think it was originally 3 years.
Yeah, it's a split year. I believe it's 2023. It would be back to normal. And I apologize if it's the wrong end of year.
I think it's 4 years, and it's been reduced to 3 because everything went better than anticipated.
Right, staying under budget and everything like that. And a lot of the models that we had put together were for reduced amount of boats registering and the same amount registered as the year before. And that doesn't count any revenue from the restaurant and all the returned revenue and things like that. So yes, absolutely. I will always vote to put them back because that's what we promised to do. And then I was one of the people that promised it. So I'm not gonna go back on where we were, and hopefully we'll be able to, with all the other boards, obviously, we'll be able to bring them back to where they're supposed to be.
Jim, I just wanted to say that I planned on being on the board at least until the fees went back down to normal. If I don't make it that far, I will bug the board until they bring it down. So in some way it will happen, I'm sure.
Dick, you got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say, as I recall, one of the primary reasons for the fees increases was to rebuild spent cash reserves on this marina project. And I would vote to rescind the increased fees as promised, unless and until a new major expense came before the board. I think $250 per year per lot for the amenities we enjoy is a very small price to pay, but without fees, we wouldn't stay solvent. So the fees increase was necessary for the project, and I think it won't be necessary once we get that paid off and restore the cash reserves. And additionally, once a restaurant is in operation, we should get some kind of income from that. Don't know how much, but that could take the place of the fees, perhaps.
Okay.
That's it.
Anyone else? Steve, you got a question? Unmute so we can hear you. Steve Hampton, I can see you, but you got to turn your mic on. There you go.
Okay. I've worked at the marina for 7 years now, and I've listened to people talk. And this is one of the years that everybody was saying they're not going to register the boat because the fees went up. But we broke a record for more boats being registered this year than any other year that we've had. And it started in March. March usually will register 50 to 75 boats. We had almost 300 registered in 2 weeks. So I don't think people are really worried about the money right now, but I am all for putting back the fees when we get all this money paid back. And there's lots of other things we can do. But putting the fees back down is one of my top priorities too, because I listen to the people in the marina. I listen to them talk. And that's just one of the things that I wanted to get on the board to try to get done.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Anybody else? If not, why don't we take a few minutes on each of you, let you give us a quick rundown. We didn't do an introduction. I apologize for that. Talk a little bit about your what you were expecting to run for the board, some of your qualifications, how long you've been here, and basically ask for the vote. So if Scott, would you like to start? You're in alphabetical order. Take as much time as you want.
Sure, I appreciate it. Hopefully my audio is a little bit better now. I switched devices, but
it is better, yes.
Okay, good deal. So I moved out to Heritage Lake in 2017. I'm actually not a full-timer. I have a house in Indianapolis also. I have a pretty diverse background. I managed a retail company for a while. I had 250 locations I oversaw. All of them had staff. So I've managed large groups. After that, I left. I started a construction company. So with that, I have a number of full-time employees. I own a bar restaurant also. I own quite a few rental properties, so I have a pretty diverse background, and with that, I've had a lot of good experience, and I think that would be very applicable for a lot of the things we deal with, as I would be dealing with as a board member on a day-to-day basis. So I think my background really gives me a strength that that would be a big benefit to the community. I try to stay pretty active. I'm out on the lake every weekend. So I know earlier we were saying some people are on the water, some aren't. I've been boating my entire life. So for me, it's definitely an activity I'm for. Hitting on some of the topics that we had talked about earlier. I know on the boat fees, I'd definitely like to see those boat fees go back down. I think with the covenants, we're kind of in a tough spot, and we can keep trying to get them changed, and it doesn't seem like we're ever going to get there. The problem is we're going to keep having a budget crisis until then. So I'm just going to have to brainstorm and work up some stuff to figure out how we can keep the budget balanced, maintain the community in a good way, but at the same time doing it with the handcuffs of our present rules. I'm pro marina. I can't wait for a restaurant to open up in there. I think that'll be a great improvement. We had talked about boat rules a little bit earlier on the lake. I'm kind of on the fence on this one. So for me, it sounded like putting a test in place just gives us the ability to tell people, hey, you know the rules. I don't think they're violating the rules because they don't know them. I think they just don't care. So I think we need to go to more of a fine system or some way to enforce it. I don't think it's an education problem, but hey, it goes both ways. You never know. It can't hurt to have a test. It just seems like the people at the marina are going to have a hard time keeping up with it. They're already swamped with trying to ring people up, do registrations. To try to put a test in place is going to make it a little bit tougher. Trying to think any other questions that jumped out that I wanted to put my 2 cents in on. I think we got a great community. I think I loved all the concerts that we had this summer. Hopefully we can have some more programming like that even in the future years without the COVID restrictions. I think the community's going in the right direction. People love the taco trucks. That kind of foreshadows what we're going to get with some good food options out here. But I think overall, we're going in the right direction. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we're always going to have some residents that aren't happy. It's all just how we deal with it. If we can stay on the forefront, we can get some more stuff on social media, let people know, hey, this is what's coming up. This is what I'm supporting. This is why. I think if you tell people why, you can get a lot more done. If you just say, hey, I'm doing it, I'm on the board, screw you. Like, if you take that approach, it doesn't really go that far. So I'm kind of a blunt speaker. I'm used to dealing with people all day long that in the construction world. So sorry if it's on those kind of phrases, it's like that, but hopefully people can see it. I'm an honest guy. I'll say it how it is. And if I feel a certain way, I'll let you know. I'll work with you though. So everything's a negotiation. I'm going to want something. Another board member is going to want something. We'll work it out. And at the end, we'll do the best for the community. But I think that's why I'd be a good board member. And that's kind of my background.
Thank you, Scott. Grant, you're up next.
Okay, my name's Grant Feldhake. I've been at Heritage Lake since 2005, I think is when the property was or the house was purchased. It was my parents, so I've been here as weekender. I've lived out here when I worked over at Dixie Chopper. I've still came to meetings and stuff. I started before on the board, joining as many committees as possible. And so you've probably seen me somewhere, probably. The Hill Knack group, I'm with them a lot. I've been on the board for 3 years. Hopefully you know who I am, but I just really like the board and really want to help out the community and bring the community together. I really don't have much to say other than the Colts are losing 10-14 right now. Third quarter just started. Thanks.
Okay. Shannon, you're next.
Yes, I'll keep this brief because we really are running out of time. I've been here since January of 1985, and I've served on both the planning committee and the election committee, and both as a participant and as a chair of both of those committees. over many years in the past, going into the 2000s, starting in around 1992. And I'm still active, on A&E and in the Lake Committee. So that's really, I just wanted to say what my qualifications were and how long I've been here.
Okay, thank you. Summer, you're next.
All right. Hi, I'm Summer Ramsey. I'd like to first of all thank Rick and Jim and the election committee for setting this up. I know a lot of time and effort went into it. Some of you might know me from the boat decorating contest for we won the decorating contest as Songs on the Water. Maybe you know me from being mom to Owen, who is the local handy boy fisherman that's out there, or the lady with triplets, or the mom is dragging around 6 kids, or the lost Amazon Prime van driver in the Santa Parade. I've been a member of Heritage Lake since the spring of 2017, after my husband and I purchased an empty lot in Jefferson Valley. We bought that lot for $2,500, if that tells you how much has changed since 2017 to now. We absolutely fell in love with the community. We lived in Clayton, didn't even know this existed. And then it was like a whole new world opened up for us. So we searched and searched and searched for a house and finally put an offer on one sight unseen in Victory Hill. Got into a bidding war, but we got it. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't just thank God that we're able to raise our kids here. So some things that I've done for the community, I sponsored a photo contest last summer where the winning images won credit at the marina. I have donated wooden Heritage Lake maps to different fundraisers. I created goodie bags to be passed out to the back of the Blue Parade for police officers, and I carved the word Santa into a board so that it could be put onto the Santa mailbox for, I see Nina, for all the kids that was amazing to be able to get letters from Santa. I'm a former teacher. I taught for 10 years in Avon. So I have a lot of experience with management and juggling a lot of things at once. I currently work part-time as a bookkeeper for a local small business. I'm in charge of their payroll, the taxes, retirement for 10 employees, along with handling over $1 million in annual revenue. So I know the importance of fiscal responsibility. But more than anything, if you know me, you know that I love this lake. I stress to my children every day that Ramsey's show up. We volunteer. We are, I have a sign next to their backpacks that literally says Ramsey's show up. And I want to instill that and show up for the board. So I thank you for the consideration and thanks.
Thank you, Summer. AJ, you're next.
Boy, that one's a tough one to follow up.
It is.
You really set the bar high on that one for me. Well, I'm AJ Stafford. I've lived out here since I think 2013 or 2014. I've been on the board for the past 3 years. I've also been on the lake committee before I was on the board. I'm an avid water skier, so you'll probably see me as one of those people making waves in the mornings with the Hoopses or Casaros or anybody else that's out there. So I feel strongly that, this, and I own a landscaping company. And like I said, my target audience, target clientele is lake people. I would say 99% of my business comes from people here at Heritage Lake, and I've embraced this community from the beginning. I've really enjoyed, I used to drive an hour all the way to Indianapolis to go to work for the past, I don't know, what was it, 6 years? An hour each way to go to downtown for my old job. So I was all about this community from the get-go. I really enjoyed it. I really want to stay a part of it. And like I said, I have a family that I'm raising here, so I want to be part of that. And, you know, like I said, part of the things I've done out here, we've done 2 different rounds of different playground equipment that we've added to the various parks around the place. Getting rid of some of the other equipment that was kind of old and slightly dangerous. And then kind of pushing forward with all these other things that we've been working on, the new marina and the parking lots and the docks and the tie-ups, buoys, lake committee rules. I mean, just everything that were thrown at us. And I try to attend as many events as possible. I believe we helped for Feast and Ski. We were able to sponsor the cotton candy / snow cone booth. I think it changed in the middle. But yeah, like I said, I really love this. That's why I wanted to go back in for another term, because I really feel like we're making some progress and I really have enjoyed it.
Okay, Nina, I'm sorry.
Hi, so I'm Nina Stebbins. I moved out here full-time to Lincoln Hills in 2016, also commuted to downtown Indy there for a while. Lucky enough, I get to work from home now. I've been on a lot of governmental boards, commissions, and nonprofits, so I understand what is required of someone going for a board like this. My husband and I were actually married at the activity center. We have embraced the lake life. You'll see us on our golf cart. We have a site at the campgrounds. We're on the water. We try to actively engage with our neighbors and be good neighbors to everyone and anyone. You'll see me on the lake kayaking too. I mean, I just really enjoy every aspect of this, and I realize how unique this community is. And, you know, you listen in the background, play the YouTube video of one meeting, and you realize what a huge undertaking maintaining this community is and has been. And that cannot continue without community support. That is impossible to continue without people stepping up and stepping onto the board. And so that is why I decided this was the year that I would run and hopefully get enough votes to get on the board. And I just look forward to serving this community. I love this community, and I see we've got a huge job ahead of us. And I believe that we can do it.
Thank you, Nina. Last but not least, Dick.
Somebody's got to be last, right?
Right.
Dick Werner here. I just want to mention again, I bought my lot in Jefferson Valley in 1983. At that time, I lived on the east side of Indianapolis, and I drove out here on weekend days to ski and fish and sometimes use the campground, and just really fell in love with the place. Been involved in boating all my life, oceans, rivers, lakes, all over the country, and it's in my blood. So I'm completely enthused to now be a resident here for the last 5 years. And it wasn't until I started becoming involved with the volunteerism out here that it really opened my eyes to the amount of volunteerism that it takes to keep this community ticking. And I think most of our membership is in that position. They have no idea what amount of giving occurs to keep us afloat. And one of my objectives, if I are elected to the board, would be to try to instill community involvement. Whether, you know, maybe you don't have time to go to the meetings, or meetings are during your work hours, you know, just go and help out at the clean sweep on a Saturday maybe, or anything like that. And your eyes will be open too as to how much is given to this community by those who volunteer, board members, employees. It really takes a lot to keep us going. So I would encourage that. And that's all I had to say. I would hope that you find me suitable for a position. I have some great skills in troubleshooting and listening. One thing that I was always credited with in my professional career was the ability to listen to customer complaints and defuse situations. And unfortunately, that I became the go-to guy, having to travel all over the country to defuse such situations. So I would hope that I would not have to do that as a board member, but I do possess those qualities. Thank you for your vote.
Thank you, Dick. Just a couple things at the end here. Rick Miller mentioned to me a little while ago on the text thing that summer he would take any of the help you could ever give him. And also wanted to mention that you're all aware that there are 4 positions open on the board. Typically, when we do the vote, we will verify the ballots the Thursday before the annual meeting. On the morning of the meeting, which will be that Saturday, February the 27th, I think it is. I don't know if we're going to be in a live annual meeting or if this is going to be a Zoom meeting. We probably won't know that till much closer to the time. But in any case, we've got a group that will count the votes. We will know the answer yet that day on that Saturday by 1 o'clock. In the past, we've had a couple very close elections. And so what we decided this year, somebody brought it up to my attention that what happens if we have a tie? I don't think we've ever had a tie, but if we did, we have had a couple close ones. There are some very ambiguous rules between the different documents of how that would be handled. We all made an executive decision with the board that we would basically, if it's between a 3rd and 4th person, we would flip a coin. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Other than that, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to do this. Also for the fact that you're running for the board. It's a big step in volunteering for the community. You know, we can't do it without what the board does. They do a great job, along with our POA office and maintenance and everybody else. Dick is right. The volunteerism out here is amazing. Anybody have any final comments? Otherwise, I'll say goodbye and thank you very much and go watch the ball game. Okay, goodbye.